The Hidden Secret to Fixing Back Pain, Part 4. Hey everybody, this is Mike Erlob with another episode of Power Your Life. Man, it is so great to be back after the weekend. I just want to talk a little bit about the weekend. What did you guys do? What did everybody do over the weekend? I'll tell you what I did. I took my son Garrett to trap practice. So I don't know how much you know about trap shooting, but this was his first year. And I'm telling you, he's just learning, but I am so super proud of him. When he started, and we started trap back in March, actually February, and they got to the range in March, but he was only hitting, like on his first practice, I think he maybe only hit like 5 of the 50 clay targets. And, you know, he's been just steadily working at it. And then they lost their entire summer, because the spring and the summer, because of COVID. And like all of the other kids' activities, it all got shut down. So he wasn't able to practice. And it's recently started back up. And so they've gotten some practices going again. And just in the last few weeks, I just have to throw this out there, he hit 23 out of 50 targets. I mean, I was so proud of him. He shot in his first competition a few weeks back at the Cody Gittens Memorial Trap Shoot. I think he shot 14 or 15 there. And then that was a couple of weeks ago, and he's had a practice since then, and this last practice, and he hit 23. So, you know, it's really amazing. I've really learned a lot from watching that. And stick with me because this is going somewhere. But one thing that I've learned that how important consistency is, especially in his shouldering the shotgun. So, you know, when he's up there, you know, he's got to learn how to properly place, you know, the butt of the gun right up into the shoulder pocket. You know, he's got to make sure that his cheek is right up against the stock and that everything is balanced with his position. And then he's got to make sure he's breathing properly. And then he's got to find and shoot the clay. I mean, and all that's got to happen, you know, really quick. And what we've learned is if he's off just a little bit, okay, if he tries to rush it, if he doesn't take his time, find the clay first and then aim and then shoot, like if he doesn't breathe right, if he pulls his cheek away a little bit from the stock, you know, he misses the shot. There's all of these little things, and he's got to put it all together. You know, he's got to put it all together, you know, at the right time. And that made me think, you know, because we had trap practice on Saturday, and we shoot up at a range near Harlan, Iowa. And, you know, as we're driving back home, I got to thinking, and I'm like, you know, trap is his shooting, and what he has to pay attention to is a lot like the human body. It's a lot like the way our body works, meaning everything has to work together at the right time. And if there's not balance, then just like in trap, you miss the target. And when I say balance, I'm not talking about like your ability to balance on one leg. Yes, that's important. But what I'm talking about is the balance between your systems. See, the key to everything in the body is balance. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about your blood pH, if we're talking about your nervous system, or we're just talking about your joints or your muscles. The human body is all about maintaining and keeping balance. You see, your body has all of these checks and balances inside of it, which keeps everything, when you do things right, it keeps everything operating perfectly. It keeps everything operating like it should. And when it comes to your back, okay, there has to be balance with your psoas. So I know we've already established that your psoas is, you know, one of the keys to your back pain. And it's also one of the super important muscles that you've got to keep healthy. But I want you to think about what is the opposite muscle of your psoas. So if we're talking about things have to be in balance, every muscle has to have an opposing muscle group. So what's the opposite of the psoas? Well, that would be your glutes. It's simple. It would be your gluteus maximus, your glute muscles, okay? So every muscle in the body has an opposing muscle group, and they keep each other in check. And that's what your glutes and the psoas do for each other. They keep each other in check. So I want you to think of it like this, okay? You think of your back like a scale, like a balance scale, okay? Like, you know, the scales of justice, all right? And, you know, you've got each side. And the scale, your back wants to be perfectly balanced. You want the both sides being even with each other. Now on one side of the scale is going to be your psoas muscle group, on the other side is your glutes. And if one side exerts more than the other, the scale is going to tip in that direction. And if your psoas is firing too much, okay, if it's too shortened, if it can't function properly, it will have a negative effect on your glutes. So today we're going to talk about your butt. All right, so we're going to talk about your old butt muscle, the gluteus maximus, your glutes, your derriere, you name it. I mean, we're going to talk about your butt muscle. So by now, like I've already said, I think we've established that your psoas and hip flexors are the most important muscles for moving your leg forward. So remember, those psoas muscle attaches in the front, comes off of the front of the spine and goes to the front of the leg, and when it fires, it brings your leg forward, okay? Now, your glutes are the most important muscles for extending your hip or moving your leg backwards. So if I grab our little bob here, okay, your psoas is coming from the front, and when it contracts, it moves the leg forward, okay? And your glute, on the opposite side, it moves your leg back, all right? Very simple. And those have to be in balance. So when your psoas and your glute muscle are in balance with each other, you're going to have, with good mobility, you're going to have good glute activation, okay? So when your psoas is working, it's in balance, your gluteal muscles will be able to work properly, meaning that your pelvis and your back are going to be balanced and pain-free. But many of us, because we're sitting, all right, we're sitting in that position, we end up having non-existent glutes that comes from just sitting too much. So really what happens here is when you're in that sitting position, your psoas muscle will start to tighten in there, and it'll start to compress the spine. And then what'll happen next is the nervous system will start to shut down the activity in your glute muscles, okay? And this causes them to basically kind of like go to sleep, all right? So the psoas becomes tight, starts to compress the spine. It becomes actually overactive when you try and stand up and move and you can't get into that full upright position. Your nervous system senses this as, hey, there's a lot of this activity in the psoas muscle, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually shut down your glute muscles because we can't have both muscles operating at a high level at the same time. This is what we call reciprocal inhibition, okay? And the result is a loss of that balance in the back. All right, so you end up with very small, weak, inactive glutes, and that results in pain, irritation, and inflammation in the lower spine. And you can actually see this, if you go to the mall, well, you can't go to the mall now because of COVID, but if you go to the grocery store and you watch people, you watch people walk, and you look at their gluteal development, literally you look at their butts, okay? You're going to see a lot of people out there that's very flat, okay? They don't have any gluteal development. Many times their pants are almost wanting to fall off of their hips because they don't have anything to hold on to. Now we call that disappearing butt syndrome. And it all comes from the gluteal inactivation and the weakness. And there's a really quick test that you can do for yourself that you can tell if you have this problem. And this quick test I call the standing glute activation test. So I'm going to stand up here, and this is one of the tests that we often use. And so all you're going to do is stand up, and you're going to take your left foot and you're going to put it directly in front of your right foot. Just butt that heel of the left foot in front of the toes of the right. Now, if you need to use the wall or something for balance like I'm doing, that's fine. The next thing you do is you take your left hand and you put this right on your rear end, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to take that left heel and you want to pull back against the right toes. You're just going to pull back. So you're going to pull back with that right, and you're feeling for a contraction in that gluteal area, okay? So kind of like in that pocket area, where your hand can go right in that pocket. You just feel, if you can tell, when you pull back with your heel, is your glute muscles tightening? Can you feel the muscle contracting, all right? If you can feel that, you've got good gluteal activation. If you can't feel anything at all, or you can't tell what it's doing, then there's really a good chance that your glutes are not activating. It's a good chance that your glutes have started to already go to sleep. And just simply going to the gym and working out or trying to just work on that muscle alone isn't going to fix the problem, because the problem's coming from a neurological inhibition as a result of your psoas being too active. So if you don't address that psoas muscle and you get that to shut off, you will not be able to get your glutes to strengthen and build back up. And so there's two main problems that occur with the firing of the glutes in this kind of a problem. Number one is you can have completely inhibited glutes, okay? So this is where your glutes are shut down indefinitely. So when you're doing that standing gluteal activation test, you may not feel anything happening at all, okay? So in these situations, the glutes don't contract when you walk, stand, get up out of a chair, or even play sports, okay? And then the second condition is what we call overshadowed glutes. So now in this problem, you might feel when you do that test that, well, there's a little bit of a contraction, okay? So your glutes do fire, but they're not as strong as the other muscles of the lower body, such as the quadricep muscles or the what we call adductor muscles, which are the muscles on the inside part of the thigh. So what'll happen then is the body will compensate by using these other muscles to do what the glutes should be doing. So, what I want you to take home is this, I really want you to understand this, that the psoas will affect our glute activation. It will affect the butt muscle. And this is really one of those vicious cycles. It will really mess us up if it's not fixed. Because when that psoas is tight, the glutes don't fire properly. And restoring the balance to that is key. So loosening the hip flexors while you're activating the glutes, building them up, that will reduce back pain, that will increase your hip movement. Overall, that's going to improve just your performance in life, your performance to get up out of a chair, to even run. If you play sports, it'll help you improve sports. But just functioning in day-to-day life without the back pain is the main benefit that you're going to see from that. But you see, the tight psoas, not only does that shut down the glutes, but it also creates some other problems too. And we're going to go into these next time. So I'm going to leave you hanging on that one, because we're going to talk all about how the psoas contributes to many other issues in the body too. So, by the way, if you haven't gotten a copy of my new ebook, The 5 Best Kept Secrets to Fast Back Pain Relief, you can get yours simply just by emailing me at mike@flex-pt.com. Or you could shoot me a message on the Facebook Messenger at Flex Physical Therapy, and we'll make sure that we get you a copy of that. There's really a lot of great stuff in there. So before I go, like always, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking quote from Charles H. Spurgeon. And what he said was that faith goes up the stairs that love has built and looks out the windows which hope has opened. I'll let you guys think on that one for a while, but until next time, power your life and keep moving forward.